So, very good noon from Tali Bowling Center. It is time for the highlight of this year's ESBC Championships, the Masters Finals. ESBC consists of 3 categories for men and women, so altogether 6 finals. And today we have best 6 bowlers from each category playing in the Masters Finals. The format is simple. Everybody play one game and always the worst score will drop out. Except if the first ranked player who won the all events plays the worst game in the first game, then there will be a replay. But now let's go through who are playing. Men A category, which is 50 to 60-year-old. Those are the 6 players who play on lane pair number 3 and 4. Then men B, seen on 5 and 6, age category between 60 and 70. Then, because there was an unfortunate situation from the winner of men's C category, Fernando Gomez had to leave and he can't attend today's finals. Therefore, in the men's category C, they won't be playing this first game. They will start in the second game with 5 players and continuing with the same style like the other categories. Then, over here, we have Women A. Those are the 6 players playing in that A category. And then on 13 and 14, it's Women B. And on 15 and 16, Women's C category. And over there on the scoreboards, you can see the handicaps behind each player's name. And handicap is dished out. 65-year-olds are the 0 point, so 66 is 1, and so on. And for example, Tytti Vainikka, who just started her game with 4-6 split, her handicap is 22, so that means he is 87-year-old. And over here we can also see this year's tournament's pattern. Pattern length is 41 feet. And as you can see of the profile, it's not that hard, but because it's summer, humidity is always making lanes play a little bit trickier. That's why the overall scoring pace wasn't that high in this year's championships. And we will show you all the games from these Masters finals all the way to the last games of each category. And even though there are 6 categories, I will be trying to show you all the highlights. But if there happens to be a situation that, for example, in men's A category and women's B category, crucial shots will be played simultaneously. Obviously, the picture can't be in both places, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to keep you on pace for the rest of these Masters finals. This year's tournament had roughly 500 players in all 6 categories, and players came from 22 different countries in this year's tournament. Next year's tournament, we already, if some of you checked out the live stream earlier today where we showed the medal presentations, there was also that flag ship to next year's organizers, and next year's tournament will be in Italy, played in Rome. And a reminder, so always every player play one game and the worst score will drop. In case of a tie, there will be a 1-ball roll-off for those 2 worst scores, and they keep repeating that as long as there is a winner. The only exception is that the first seeded player, if he loses or she, this first game, there will be a replay, which means that they will play the whole game, all 6 players, again. And since there's most likely only going to be played 5 rounds, I would say we will be finished 2:30, maybe a little bit earlier. And also one thing is, they will play first 3 games on the same pair, and then they will switch in order that the men's A will go to the ladies' A lanes on this 11 and 12, and B goes to B, and so on, C goes to C. So that's the playing format for the day. These European Senior Championships, ESBC Championships, first were played in France, La Rochelle, year 1992. So this year's edition is the 34th edition of these championships. Although there might have been break because of coronavirus. In that case, it's not probably the 34th year, but first time still was played in La Rochelle, 1992. Next on lane 12, it's Reija Lunden, who won all the gold medals in women's A category, singles, doubles, and also trios. And trios are played all together inside the gender, so not ABC categories, but women's and men's trios. So there can be 1 player from C category, 1 B, and 1 from A, for example. But singles and doubles are played inside the H category. And earlier today, it started 9 a.m. medal presentation. There was altogether 20 different gold medals dished out in that medal ceremony, which started at 9 a.m. And also one rule is that if there's a tie and players have different handicaps, so different age handicaps, it will still be considered not a tie, so the younger one wins. So the better scratch score is a deciding factor if there's a tie. Otherwise, 1 ball roll-offs until the tie has been broken. Eva Renvall, who won women's B categories all event gold, had started with a double, but now missed the headpin, left with a washout 1-2, 8-10. First 2 rounds, 6 and 5 players. Playing pace is a little bit slower, but obviously intensifies towards the end when there are not so many players anymore left. And great spare for Eva Renvall. Over here, men's A side, Spiros Vlahos from Greece, who's the only representative from Greece, has started with a triple. Men's B, you can see Alan Keddy. He also won all the gold medals in men's B category, and he is the lone representative from Scotland. Jukka Poutiainen, doubled in the fourth frame. And he's a bowling center proprietor from Jyväskylä, Finland. Ron van der Boogaard, who used to play for the regular Dutch national team in the past, started with a double, but then some kind of split and another 210 for him in the fourth. And now on lane number 4, Spiridon Vlahos, also known as Spiros. This time a high hit, but luckily only left 3 and 6. Henning Bjerregaard makes a spare. The women's A final, Roxana Daniela. Is that Baga? Because one letter is missing. We can actually check it out from here. Buga. Roxana Daniela Buga has started with a triple, and now she will come to lane 11, play his fourth frame. She's using purple hammer. Missed it inside, but luckily left only a 6-pin. Women's B category, Päivi Uusinarkaus. She had started with a double and 9 spare now, so good start for her. In women's C category, there is lots of open frames on lane 15. But it's still too early to say what's going to happen, and you only need to avoid finishing last. It doesn't matter if you're second last, you will continue, and since the pins don't carry over, just try to survive every time and you'll be good. Pirkko Halden also struck in the 5th. Now on lane 14, Leena Jokiniemi, who is actually a Bowlmaster Open winner. The year was 94. First women winner at that time in tournament history. Obviously the ladies had a different, their own tournament to begin with, so 94 it was maybe second or third time that men and women were playing all in the same division. Tytti Vainikka on lane 15. And also what's noticeable is lane 16 first player Seija Nurmi. She's the oldest participating player this year at age 92. That is pretty impressive. She used to play for the Finnish regular national team some 50 years ago. Tuula Tamminen also struck. She's been a mainstay in Finnish senior national team for many years now. Let's see how Eva Renvall responds to that last frame. Bad first shot. Exactly the same. Once again missed the headpin and left 1 and 10. And on lane 15 you could see Seiya make her shot in the 6th frame. And like I said, aged 92. So over here we have Kai Hilden barely making the spare on 10-pin. But at the halfway mark of the first game, Kai is the one at the moment who would be dropping, but he's only trailing Carlos. Oh, okay, Carlos has a double, so it's 19. Andre Suran, who is up on lane 3 and left at 3-pin, he is ahead of Kai by 12 points. Men's B, Ronda van de Bogaert's problems continue. Another 210, this time with 8-pin on the 6th. And he's in big trouble at the moment. Already trailing the second worst score, over 20 points. Spiros, frame 6, quite high, but still somehow managed to take out the 4-pin. His chances of advancement in this first game are very high after starting with a triple, spare, and a double. Jorma Kettunen, who comes from Oulu, made a good shot but left a ringing 10, unfortunately. And Alan Keddy, who dominated the B category in men's side, made a poor shot but luckily left only the 3-pin from that high hit. Perfect strike for Lars Linder, and his situation is also very good. 4-bagger over there, looking quite safely going to the next round. Romanian Roxana Daniela Buga missed that 6-pin in the 4th frame now, made a spare on 7-pin. And actually in women's A, that's the only empty frame so far at the 5th frame. So it's quite tight over there. And naturally in the A division, nobody gets any handicap since it's 50 to 16-year-olds. Maria Toth from Hungary. She made a double in the 5th frame, and her chances are pretty good at the moment. Women's C category is playing definitely the fastest pace so far. They are already playing the 7th frame. And like previously said, those age handicaps can be seen on the scoreboard. On the women's B category, nobody is getting any handicaps, so that means they are 65 or younger. All those 6 players in that final. And like previously said, if the first seeded player would end up losing, shooting the worst score in this first game, then there will be a replay. The whole game will be played again. And if that happens, all the other categories will be waiting that game to finish. In my mind, they're quite weird rules, but those are the rules. My personal opinion, hopefully that doesn't happen, because it would be quite not so good to wait for the other ones, just one category to play another game. But let's not speculate on that anymore. Let's see what's going to happen, and we go forward with that. And the first seeded players were Eva Renvall. And over here you can see Tytti Vainikka was in women's C. Reija Lunden was the top seed in women's A. And over here, men's A, it was Ondrej Suran. And men's B, Alan Keddy. And since men's C category is winner, Fernando Gomez was unavailable for the finals, therefore there won't be happening that. Vlahos had a weird leave 1-3-6-9 over there, so he missed the headpin completely to the left, but managed to make good spare and no worries there. Men's B, Ron van de Bogart this time had a high hit on lane 6. He continues to be in the danger zone for dropping, although he only trails Jorma Kettunen by 12 if he makes a spare, plus Jorma has that one pin, so the difference is 13. Dutch Freddy Dingenauts is making sure that he's not going to be the one dropping out, a 5-bagger, and almost sealed his way to the next round. Great strike for Henning Bjerregaard. 6-pin takes out the 10 like it should. Alan Keddy, light hit 2-8. Should be a pretty easy spare for him, and 30-pin difference to Ron van de Bogart with another Brooklyn hit for Spiros. But easy leave 5-pin, that should be no problem for him. Jorma Kettunen makes a critical strike in the 9th. Very important. I think we're going to keep the camera on this men's B to see how Ron van de Bogart responds. Pretty much in a definitely need to strike, because obviously if he doesn't strike, and I told that Spiros is going to make a spare, but no, he did not. He missed that 5-pin. But yeah, Ron van de Bogart, if he doesn't strike, any kind of a good mark in the 10th will be enough for Jorma Kettunen. So I would say this needs to be a strike for Ron. And even though Ronald Georgsen missed the headpin, but he had that 5-bagger, so there's no worries for him. He's already guaranteed to make it. Pretty decent shot for Ron, but since he left at 7-10, it almost guarantees that he's going to be the one going out in the first game in men's speed. Let's see what's happening here. Oh, it's still tight in women's A. Heidi Gould back leads Leta Anucene by 13. They are the closest ones at the moment. Also, ladies B, they are only played 7 frames, but ladies C is already in the 9th frame. Dagmar Stulikova and Tytti Vainikka. But Tytti Vainikka has 17 pins more of age handicap. So Stulikova is in trouble at the moment. And to remember that Tytti Vainikka is the top seed in women's C category. If she would play that first game, then there will be a replay. That was a strong pin on 7-pin spot. It was almost done, but no, it stayed up, and 9 count for Maria Grazia Locatelli, but she's already guaranteed her place in the next round. If Tytti makes her spare on that 6-pin, he then has 2 pins more than Stulikova plus that 17, so the difference would be 19. Easy spare for Tytti, and it looks like it's going to be Stulikova. Kai Hilden made another open frame in the 8th. So that puts him in a very, very tough spot. Even though if he strikes out for 192, he will then need lots of help from other players. Well, Carlos did give him some hope, missing that 2-8, but he still needs only a mark in the 10th to shut out Kai Hilden. And men's B, it's already been decided that it is Ron van de Boogaard who will drop out. This has to be a strike for Kai Hilden. If it's not, it's game over for him. Great strike for Kai though. Keeping up tiny, tiny hopes. In women's A, it's still tight. Kuhlback Toth leading Anu Tjene by 13. And Anu Tjene makes an important strike in the 8th, so there's still chance for her to dig out of trouble. Women's B, it's Eila Pitkänen actually who is in trouble. Okay, she's only trailing Eva Renvall by 8. So this is important. Eila, Brooklyn hit, leaves the 5-pin. And in women's C, Tytti Vainikka only needs to hit properly pins with her first shot, and she will beat Dagmar Stulikova in that case. So barring a miracle, it's going to be Dagmar Stulikova who drops out as the first player in women's C category. But we will wait for confirmation on that, because Tytti is now going to play her 10th frame. And I've seen on camera that 139 already includes that 5-pin handicap for Stulikova. Perfect way to seal her place in the next round for Tytti. Perfect strike. So Stulikova is the one out in women's C category. And we are in time on men's A. With a spare on that 2-pin, Carlos Modesto will shut out Kai Hildén, and all the other players have already guaranteed a spot in the next round. It looks like that there won't be a replay on this first round, which is a good thing. Easy spare for Carlos. So he only needs to have a 4 count to shut out Kai Hildén. We will watch the confirmation of that and then switch our attention to women's A and B categories where it's still wide open what's going to happen. But Ron van der Boogaard, men's B is out, and Stulikova in women's C category, she's out. So 4 count for Carlos. I would give 99.9% chance of him making that 4 count. Ball stays on the lane. That's enough. So it's Kai Hildén also who goes out in men's A category. In women's A, Anutsen has doubled. So that means she is tied with Heidi Guldback after 9 frames. And also Fantova only leads them by 5. So this is going down to the 10th frame in women's A category. And also Maria Toth is in the mix. So this is going to be very, very tight 10th frame. Buga has already pretty much made sure that she's going to continue the tournament. In women's B, important shot for Eila Pitkänen. Very good shot, but left a 9-pin. So that means even if she makes a spare, both Tuula Tamminen and Eva Reinvall just need to stay clean in the 10th frame to advance. And on the right side you can see the final scores for Eila Pitkänen missed that 9-pin, so that does it for her. It is Eila Pitkänen who goes out first in women's B category. And like previously stated, it was Dagmar Stulikova who dropped out in women's C. But now we should turn our attention to women's A. And as you can see, Maria Toth has left a 110. And she needs to make this spare, otherwise she would be the one who's last going into the 10th. Now she's the one. She's trailing 9 points, Guldback and Anutsenä, and another 5 pins more, so 14 against Fantova. Reija Lundén and Roxana Daniela Buga, they look to be safe before the 10th. Heidi Guldback missed quite heavily on the left side, missing the head pin completely, leaving 1, 3, and 9. which is not the easiest, even though there's pocket remaining. But if you hook the ball, you can, with a little high hit, leave that 9-pin. Perfect strike for Fantova, and that should be enough. And it will be enough because Gullbeck can't beat her score. So Fantova will continue playing. And Gullbeck missed that. So her score is 176. That means Maria Toth needs a spare and 6 to beat Heidi Gullbeck. But since Leta Anutsiena has a double in the 8th and 9th, if she would leave something and won't be able to make a spare, she would definitely shoot a lower score than Heidi Gullbeck's 176. This is actually pretty much the only game on this first round, this women's A category, that was a tight one in the 10th. All the other 4 were decided earlier than the 10th frame. And obviously men's C category wasn't tight because they didn't play this first round because of that fact that the winner, Gonzalez, was unable to play. So now, Leta Anutsiene, any kind of mark is enough for her. And also 9 count in the first, she would get 177, even though if she missed that, but 9 is enough with the first ball. But since it's 6-7 split, she needs to make a spare on that one, otherwise she will lose to Heidi Gullbeck. And 6-7 is obviously not the nicest leave if you want to leave something when spare is enough. It didn't actually matter because her score is 171. Maria Toth still needs to make a spare or a strike, so a mark is needed for Maria. Just pure dynamite for Maria Toth, and with that strike, it means that Leta Anutsiene is the one out after round 1 in the women's A category. I'll have a short commentary break for a couple of minutes, and I'll be back when the second game starts.
placements of the players ready. Few minutes. The placements are ready. The names will be in the lanes right now, and you can start play as soon as you're ready. No more practice rounds. You start play immediately.
So now game two will start, and men's C category will join us. And on this second round and so on, there will be no more practice shots. So we continue immediately. And if I've received correct info, all the categories will play 3 games on a pair and then do that one switch where A category switch together, B, and so on. But the rules stay the same. The worst score will drop out. And since all the first seeded players prevailed on the first game, now it's simple. First score out the other players will continue. And since there was a 5-minute break or something, it might make it a little bit harder in the first frame to continue, because you might experience some touch loss on your muscles because of that break. But obviously it's the same for everyone. Nobody were able to practice, so in that way the rules are fair. And now on the screen, first time today, also men's C category, and like you can see on the scoreboard, it's easy for them. All 4 bowlers who have made their first shot have struck. And also Mikko Isakov strikes, so all the players in men's C category were able to strike in the first frame. Great start for them. And the same story continues. Gastone Pertegat strikes also in the second frame. Ladies A, which was the only exciting group in the first game. They have already started this first game, and Roxana Daniela Buga. Little high hit, leaving the 4-7. Women's C category definitely played the fastest pace in game 1, and it looks like it's gonna continue the same way. And if there are new viewers that has started to look at this stream later when we started, just to let you know, the history is that the first ESBC championships were played in France, in La Rochelle, back in 1992. And this year's event featured around 500 players from 22 different countries. An A category, which is 50 to 60. I think that category has the fewest players, and B and C had more. But around 500 different players altogether. Carlos Modesto was pretty close making a spare on that 210. He prevailed in the first game by making a spare on that 2-pin in the 10th to knock out Kai Hilde. On men's B side, Ronald Georgsen had a pretty weird first frame, 4 and 5. Slight problem because of the lighting. The base color in the first game on scoreboards were darker, and we were able to see those numbers easier, like you see Jorma Kettunen when it's highlighted whose chance. It's a little too shiny, but now that it's Jorma's third frame is already there, now we can see that after that first frame's empty frame, Jorma has responded with a double. But I'm pretty sure we'll be able to follow these matches correctly, and no worries there. Alan Keddy, who got all the gold medals in men's B category, so that means singles, doubles, Oh, weird messenger on 10. Bottom first, but still a strike for Alan Ketty, and he also obviously won the all events in men's B. Now there's something different than all but strikes in men's C. Rauli Raita, who won singles gold and doubles gold, left an unfortunate 4-9, and he was not able to make a spare. So at the moment, Gilst and Rauli Raita are the ones after 3 frames who are in jeopardy of dropping out, but it's still early, only the 3rd frame. Mikko Isakov slightly missed it inside. High hit, but fortunately only 4-7. Maria Toth, who calmly made that strike in the 10th in the 1st frame when she needed a mark to go through, has started with a double. Heidi Goldbeck makes a spare with the help of a little luck. A pin coming off the wall, but still a spare. And she stays clean for the first 3 frames in this 2nd game. And Maria Toth, she has made a ball change. He played with Purple Hammer in the 1st one, and now she switched to a stronger reactive and perfect start for her. A triple from the start. Heija Lundén on lane 12. She took all the gold medals in women's category, also in trios. Left a week 10, but for some reason that 6-pin did receive some energy boost later and were able to knock the 10-pin down and a strike for Reija. Okay, hit for Eva Renvall, but a little weak 10 as a result. Tytti Vainikka. It seems like that she did hit the gutter with her first ball because they're not making a correction. So that was not a good frame for her. Neither it was actually for Eva Renvall after she did miss that 10-pin. Pirkko Alden was very, very fortunate. Light Brooklyn hit initially left 5-10, but with pretty nice lucky events, both pins were down, and now she has a double on the scoreboard in 3rd and 4th frames. And Seija Nurmi, who's the oldest player in these championships at age 92, has started with 4 clean frames, so it's looking good for her. On men's A, Lars Linder has hit some trouble lately, going empty in both 2nd and 3rd frames. Ondrej Suran, who was the all events winner in men's A, makes a nice strike in the 4th frame. Jorma Kettunen is not giving too hard time for that 10 pin, just barely hitting it. That's still a spare. And Spiros Vlahos makes a great spare on maybe split 310, and he stays clean for the first 4 frames. Ready digging out. Bad shot, missed it to the right. And quite rightly leaves 4-6. Split for that shot. Lars Linder, who's at the moment in trouble in men's A, a little high hit and the 4 pin. In men's C category, none of the 6 bowlers that made this Masters finals is not yet 80-year-old, since Gastone Pertegat has 14, so that means he is 79 years old. Jorma Kettunen on lane 6, strikes. A decent light hit for Mikko Isakov, but he leaves that 7 pin. Reijo Lunden doubles in the 4th. And with that spare, Roxana Daniela Buga completes the 4th frame in women's A. Maria Toth and Reijo Lunden are in a good position, but after that it's quite tight. In women's B category, the scores are very low. None of the players are not even close to being even par. And Leena Jokiniemi leaves a 7-10. Päivi Uusin Arkaus makes a spare on that 10 pin. Tytti Vainikka leaves 5-10 after that light Brooklyn hit. But at the moment, even though Tytti left that 5-10, it's Locatelli who's in the biggest worst situation at the moment and having only 65 points in frame 5. Tuula Tamminen makes a good strike, and that's a double. Seija Nurmi leaves 6-10. She's still clean after 5 frames, so it's looking good for her. Pirkko Halden gets another light Brooklyn strike on lane 15. She has a double and clean through 6, so also for Pirkko it's looking good. Päivi Uusinarkaus did miss that one, and she's the one in the biggest trouble in women's B. In men's A and men's B, it's still too early to say what's going to happen. 4 more frames to go and it's still wide open. Flahos, not that easy. 3-6-10, but he made it look pretty easy. Great spare shot for him. Lars Linder has a strike in the 5th. So this is actually quite important frame for him already. The double would do very good for him. And a perfect shot. Great strike for Lars Linder. Men's A is getting tighter and tighter. Rauli Raita leaves 4-6. And he's in a tight battle with Jelle Least after 7 frames. Trailing Jelle, including handicap, by around 5 pins. Maria Toth misses left. Brooklyn Head leaves 5 and 9. Heidi Goldbeck misses the 9 pin. And now Fantova and Goldbach, they are pretty much even at the moment. In women's B, both Tamminen and Jokiniemi did make an empty frame in the 7th. And by making a spare here, Päivi Uusinarkaus would make the situation that all 3 players are inside 10 pins and 3 frames to go. Tytti Vainikka makes a double, which was very important for her, because also Locatelli has doubled. And even though Locatelli leads Vainikka in this game, but the difference in handicap is 14 between those 2 players, so it's quite tight over there. Seija Nurmi has been clean for 7 frames already, although it was 3 spare in the 7th, so she lost 7 pins. But still stayed clean, and now there's 9 pins, so there's a good chance that she's staying clean for first 8 frames, which is quite good for a 92-year-old. And a very easy spare for her. Virkohall, and it looked like that the ball would take both 3 and 9, but 9 pin is there, but still, she's still in a pretty solid position. Uusinarkaus makes a spare, so the situation in women's B stays pretty much the same. For men's A, Lars Linder opened up in the 7th. So it's once again very tough spot for him in men's A. Although Vlahos has that quite tricky 258 remaining on his shot on 8th frame. But makes a perfect spare on that and stays ahead of Linder by 23 pins. In men's B, it's only Kettunen who looks to be safe after 8 frames. And by striking here, that would make it. And yes, Jorma Kettunen is pretty much safe in men's B. And Lars Linder is pretty much done in men's A, leaving 3, 4, 7, 10. And if he doesn't make a spare, he will be in a very, very tough spot, because if this is not a mark, his maximum is 178 or 9, depending on how many pins he picks up with the spare shot. Wow, great pickup for him. Staying in the game. Although still in about that spot. Alan Keddy strikes. But he is at the moment the one that is going out. Because he's trailing Bjerregaard by 5. Okay, he has a strike in the 9th and Bjerregaard has a spare, but all event winner Keddy is in trouble already in the 2nd game. Jukka Poutiainen strikes nicely in the 9th, but he's also in the mix. Everything is still wide open in men's B. Digging out, makes a good strike over there. At the moment in a pretty good spot. Rauli Raita misses that 6-10, and it pretty much guarantees that he's going to be the one dropping out in the 2nd game. I would say it's already mathematically clear that it's going to be Rauli, who is the next one out in, or the first one actually, out in men's C, since there was only 5 players playing. In women's A, it's Maria Toth and Rea Lunden who are cruising to the next round, but these 3 players on lane 11, they are inside 10 pins at the moment, so it's still wide open. Buga hits it very high and leaves that 4-6. So as it stands, she's the one who is in the biggest trouble. Women's B, Renval obviously makes it through. And with Tuula Tamminen leaving that 4-9, she's in a tough spot. Leena Jokiniemi needs his mark. Oh, 2-4-5. With a spare, Tamminen would have edged out Jokiniemi, but now it's 156. So Jokiniemi needs spare 9 to beat Tuula Tamminen. And also Päivi Uusinarkaus, if she stays clean, spare strike, it would be 157. But Jokiniemi chops it. In that case, her final score is 147. Tamminen is safe. So is Marian Kleven. So the situation is simple. Päivi Uusinarkaus needs a mark to go through. And if she doesn't, she drops out. Otherwise, it's Leena Jokiniemi. And women's C. Locatelli seems to be in a situation that she needs a double. That's definitely the case. Locatelli needs a double. Mengsjöl already has 188, Vainikka 185 with handicap. Halden and Nurmi, obviously look at that game by Seija Nurmi, 92 years old and clean game. But we'll come back for that. Päivi Uusinarkaus with a spare. And it's there. So it is Leena Jokiniemi who drops out in women's B category. Over here in men's A, Lars Linder's maximum is 176. Dominguez has more, Vlahos has more, Suran has more, so that's 100% sure that it's Lars Linder going out. Men's B, it's Alan Keddy who opened up in the 10th, the all events winner. He's the one dropping out in men's B. Quite surprising, actually. So Linder, Keddy. In men's C, it is Rauli Raita, like we already knew that before the 10th frame. So in the men's side, it is Linder, Keddy, and Raita going out in the second round. Women's A category is once again the slowest playing pace, like in the first game also. Heidi Guldbeck makes a great spare on that 5-7. It was important. Very important. But now it's Locatelli. She needs a double. No. So it's Maria Grazia Locatelli who's the one out in women's C category. So Locatelli and Jokiniemi out on the women's side. It's the only thing to be decided is women's A category. So we move on to this ladies A category, which is the only one that has something to play for. Buga makes a spare, a must spare situation for her, because both Guldbeck and Fantova made clean frames in the 9th. Fantova actually leads Buga by 21 pins, and with that strike in the 9th, it's going to be a battle between Guldbeck and Buga, and Guldbeck is leading by 10. This has to be a clean frame. Another high hit on that lane the previous time. On lane 11, Buga left at 4-6, and it could have easily been another 4-6 for her. Luckily, only 6 and 10 stayed up. But even if she makes a spare, she would be trailing Guldbeck by 12, so it definitely is not in her own hands at the moment. Spare for Buga. Four, 6 for Lunde, but it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. She had already made sure that she's going to continue playing in the next round. And over here, as we can see, even though Linder struck twice in the 10th, his 175 was not enough. Oh, a spare for Reija Lunden. Great pickup. And even though it didn't matter that much, it was still a great spare. So for Guldbeck, she can lose one pin in the 10th to shut out Buga. So a strike with her first ball would do very good for her. Oh, okay. Only lost one pin. So with a spare and a strike, she can still shut out Roxana Daniela Buga. And as we can see, Buga has only one strike so far in the first 9 frames, so it's not that highly likely that she's gonna strike out. Spare for Guldbeck. Ringing 10 for Lunden. But it didn't matter. A 9 count, so that means Buga needs to strike out to force a tie and 1 ball roll off. Okay, Fantova, if she makes an open frame and leaves 2 pins. But already 9 count with 2 balls would give her 169. But theoretically, it's still a possibility that well, that's a perfect way to seal your place in the next round. Perfect strike for Fantova. And she continues in the 3rd round. Great strike again, and it's 200 in scratch for Fantova. Great game. Another perfect strike, so 201 scratch game for Fantova. But now, it's simple. 3 strikes and we have a tie. Anything less than that, it's Buga who goes out in this 2nd round. A 10 pin, so it's Buga dropping out, Guldbeck going through. So this concludes the 2nd round, and like after 1st round, there will be a break in commentary until the 3rd round starts.
start as soon as the players are ready.
So round 3 is about to begin, and this is the last game that they'll be playing on the same pair. After this round, when 3 players remain, they will switch so that A divisions will switch together, B divisions and C divisions the same way. And same rules, the worst score goes out. And players who prevail in this round are guaranteed to get some kind of medal, since after this round there will be only 3 players remaining in each category. Men's A all events winner Ondrej Suran is still in the mix. In the men's side, Alan Keddy, who dominated these championships, was a surprise loser on that round, so he's out. In men's C, obviously the all event winner can't be in the mix because unfortunately Fernando Gomez had to leave because of personal reasons, and he was unable to attend these Masters finals. Over here on women's A, Reija Lundén is still in the mix. And women's B, Eva Renvall was the all-event winner. She's still in the mix. And also in the ladies C category, Tytti Vainikka is still in the mix. And if there are some new watchers of this telecast, the rules are simple. Every round the worst score drops out. This year's pattern is 41 feet. What happened over here? And it was a spare. Fred Dingenauts, something bad happened with his spare shot. Barely made it to the pins, but for some reason he was still able to make a spare on that. 2-4, but on the board it said it was a foul, so it doesn't matter. Something unfortunately obviously happened there. Perfect strike for Spiros Vlahos. Starts with a double. Men's B category, and Henning Bjerregaard, who was in a tight battle with Alan Keddy. But since Keddy opened in the 10th and Bjerregaard stayed clean, it's Henning Bjerregaard continuing to play. Carlos Modesto Dominguez, that was a perfect strike. A really good shot. Ondrej Suran, a little light hit, 2 and 5. A spare for Bjerregaard. Let's see what happens with Dingenauts after that previous frame. Although it was his spare shot that got stuck. But it could also affect your next first ball, and that wasn't a good shot for him. High hit, leaving 2-4-7. Ronald Georgsen makes a Good strike in the second frame. This is interesting to see what happens with Fred's spare shot. Oh, it looked normal and the spare was pretty safe. So no worries there based on that spare shot. Jorma Kettunen high hit, and that was not a 6-pin. And like you can see, it was, I don't know which pin it actually was that went there to the right, almost on the tap on 6-pin. It could have been any pin. But because of that off spot, the machine wasn't able to pick them up. So the mechanics need to take out that dead wood from the gutter and then make a correct score for Jorma. Maria Toth continues strong play over here on the women's A side, starting with a triple. And remember, she made that ball change into the second game, which worked out perfectly for her. Also, Heidi Gouldback, who's been in danger of dropping out already twice in those first 2 rounds, has now started with a spare and a double. And all players have stayed clean after 3 frames in women's A category. Over here, the all events winner Eva Renvall in women's B category has started with a triple and looks to be marching into the medals at the moment. On women's C category, there's a possibility that the home nation Finland gets all the medals, since there is still 3 Finns remaining. A great spare for Seija Nurmi. And do remember that she is 92 years old, and her last game was a clean game. Quite amazing. A good shot for Eva, but this time leaves a 10-pin. All events winner Tytti Vainikka gets a Brooklyn strike in the 4th. Bente Mengshoel misses that 10-pin, and she looks to be in trouble in that women's C category. Fred makes a spare on that 7-pin, so the problem that he had in the first frame is long gone. Jorma Kettunen has picked up 3 pins with his spare shot in that second frame when there was that off spot, so it might have been pretty close to making that spare in that case. Easy spare there. So at the moment on men's B, it's Henning Bjerregaard with that empty frame, who's trailing the other 3 players. A washout for Ronald Georgsen. On men's C, it's Erkki Arima who's playing very nicely. Strike spare triple. But all the players have stayed clean in men's C, so it's still wide open what's going to happen in that match. Gelle Beast. A little tight line, but still holds enough. Stays in the pocket, and a double for him too. Now there seems to be some kind of approach problem on lane 7. Nice to be seen if there needs to be some cleaning to be done. Over here, there's a surprise brewing. Reija Lundén is last after 5 frames, and as you can see, both Heidi Guldbeck and Maria Toth have 4-baggers. And a good spare for Toth on that 2-8. Yeah, it looks to be that there needs to be something done on that lane 7's approach. In women's speeds, Päivi Uusinarkaus, who's in trouble again. The other player is actually playing really good in this 3rd game. Bente Mengshoel probably needs already start striking out. But she has only 6-pin handicap, and Pirkko Halden, who has 11. It's almost 20 pins, including handicap, the difference between those two. Tytti Vainikka strikes. High hit for Uusinarkaus. Missed it, left for Vlahos and left a baby split. Men's B, it's only 1 point difference between Bjerregaard and Georgsen, and also 2 points in the handicap, so the difference is 3. And Jorma Kettunen, who has been very solid so far through first 2 rounds, misses the 10-pin, and he is actually the one who's facing elimination after 4 frames. But it's still 6 frames to go. Also, Vlahos misses that baby split, and since Fred dinging out doubles, it's very close in men's A at the halfway mark of this 3rd round. Jukka Poutiainen makes a perfect hit almost, but leaves that bucket 7. Pocket, not bucket. Pocket 7, and he could have made his life a lot easier by striking there. The gap to Kettunen would have been already 40 points, but still in a good position. Marima misses the pocket, but since he has that triple, it's looking good for him. But it's still anybody's game, this men's C category. And it seems to be whatever problem there was with the approach. Now it's sliding normally and not causing any problems for players. So far, all the players have stayed clean in this third game in C category, and that stays the same. Mikko Isakov makes a perfect easy spare on that 3-6-10. Goldbeck and Toth are cruising, but Fantova and Lunden are actually dead even at the minute. So it looks to be a fight between Fantova and Lunden. And a perfect strike for Reija. So after 7 frames, they are tied. Eva Renval keeps on playing nicely. 18 over for this game. And also Tamminen is 7 over. Maria Kleven is going for a Dutch 200. And that means you go strike and spare every other frame. And since Päivi Uusinarkaus is 28 under at the moment, she definitely needs a few more strikes to make it interesting. Women's C is quite tight at the moment. It's still anybody's game. Spare for Vainikka, and if Mengshoel spares, it's 6-pin advantage for Vainikka based on those age handicaps. And a spare. And Pirkko Halden is right there in the mix. The Brooklyn hit again, this time leaving 5 and 9. Tuula Tamminen strikes. And this is a crucial one for Päivi Uusinarkaus. I would say definitely needs to be a strike. But she leaves 4-7. Over here it's Vlahos who leaves 2-8-10. But also Dingenauts has made an empty frame in the 6th. He's 22 under. And regarding how many pins Vlahos gets, if he gets 2, he would be 1700. So it is still very, very close. Andrei Suran with that triple looks to be in a safe position. On lane 5, Poutiainen leaves 4-10, but because that one pin was standing in the gutter, it prevented the table from catching those pins. Therefore, there needs to be a respot for that 4-10 for Jukka Poutiainen. Also in that B category, it's still wide open after Jorma Kettunen has doubled in the 5th and 6th frame. Over here, Erkki Arima doubles in the 8th. So he looks to be in a good position. Italian Pertegard stays clean. Also, Isakov stays clean. That's very tight. Also in men's C category. Reija Lunden has doubled in the 8th. Fantova leaves the light 5-pin. And even though Goldbeck has opened up in the 8th, she only needs 1 mark in the last 2 frames to make sure that she's going to medal this year's event in Masters. Seija Nurmi leaves 5, 6, 10. But with those handicaps, she's in a good position. Mengshoel has missed a single pin in the 9th. But Halden, well, if she makes a spare on that 6-pin, going to the 10th, Mengshoel will trail Halden around 5 pins. But it's still wide open. But in women's B, it's already guaranteed that it's Päivi Uusinarkaus who drops out in the 3rd round. Good spare for Halden. We'll come back immediately to this women's C. And even though Nurmi misses, it doesn't matter because he has 21 pin gap to Mengshoel based on those handicaps. Digging out, that looks to be a good shot. But the reward was kind of bad one. Good shot, 7-10. And it looks to be that he's in a big trouble in men's A. Kettunen has opened up in the 7th. So he's trailing around 20 pins and only a few frames to go. So Jorma is in trouble over there. What about the C category? It is also wide open. And as we can see on lane 6, Kettunen leaves that 2-8-10. Barring a miracle, it's going to be Kettunen who's going to drop out in the 3rd round. Jelle least a Brooklyn strike, an important one in the 9th. Isakov makes a spare, so it's very tight between Least and Isakov. Over here, Toth and Gullbeck are guaranteed, and Lunden is leading Fantova by 11 going into the 10th. Let's check out this one. That we already knew that it was Uusinarkaus. But Vainikka edges out Mengshoel. Nurmi will go through. So the situation is that Pirkko Halden needs to make a spare on this 4 and 7 to beat Mengshoel. After that, a 6 count will be enough for Halden to win. A must-pair situation for Halden. It looks to be good. So 6 count for Halden is enough with her fill ball. Over here, Fantova has made a spare, but she lost 3 more pins, so it's 14 at the moment, depending on how many she gets with her fill ball. 8. Reija Lunden only needs to have like 7 and 2. I think that's doable. 6 and 3 is enough. And Halden gets 8. So it's Bente Mengshoel that drops out in women's C category. So it's 3 Finnish bowlers medaling in women's C category. For Modesto, he only needs to get 2 pins to make it to 186, since Dingenau's maximum is 185. And Vlahos guarantees with that perfect strike. He plays in the medals. So it's Fred Dingenauts who drops out in the 3rd round and finishes 4th in men's A category Masters finals. And Jorma Kettunen, like you see, he has made a 3rd split in a row. He's the one going out and finishing fourth in men's B. Men's C. Oh, that's a tough lead for Jelle Least. 3, 5, and 9. And Mikko Isakov finishes 182, 195 with handicap. So a spare and 6 for Least. And it's a spare. So he needs a 6 count to win. Over here it's Fantova who drops out, Uusinarkaus who drops out, and Mengshol who drops out in women's side. The only interesting thing left is this shot, which needs to be 6 or better. And it will be. So in the third round, the players going out. Men's A, Dingenhout. Men's B, Kettunen. Men's C, Isakov. And women's A, Fantova. Women's B, Uusinarkaus. And women's C, Mengshoel. And now, when there's only 3 players remaining, all the groups will swap lanes. A category will swap between them, B and C the same way. And we will continue with commentary when play resumes, I would say probably in 10 minutes.
Here we go. Trident.
And so we have the placements for the top three. The lowest score in this game will be awarded by a bronze medal, and top two scores will go to the championship match. And you can start when you are ready.
So we are close to continuing the tournament. Best of three are remaining, but first, a message from our main sponsor, Trident Sportswear.
Here we go. Trident.
Okay, here on 3 and 4, Women's A, Lunden, Toth and Gulbeck. 5 and 6, Women's B, Kleiven, Renval and Tuula Tamminen. 7 and 8, Women's C, Halden, Nurmi and Vainikka. Vainikka opens up with an empty frame. On 11 and 12, Men's A, Dominguez, Suran, Vlahos. And 13-14, Men's B, Georgsen, Bjerregaard and Poutiainen. And Men's C, Liist, Pertegat, Arima. Arima opens up this. Well, can we call this a semi-final game? Because this is the second to last before the final. Opens up with an open frame, but so did Pertegat, so nothing dramatic. And obviously you can't win the game in the first frame. Neither can you lose it. Good pocket hit for Liist, but he leaves a 7-pin. Strike for Arima. And a spare for Georgsen. Dominguez starts with a strike in Men's A. women's C category. Alden and Nurmi opened, but with the spare, Vainikka opened up in the first. There are actually lots of people inside bowling center. You can't see it through this live stream, but there are, I think, maybe 200 at least inside the bowling center. So the atmosphere is quite nice. And why wouldn't be? Best three are remaining, so there's plenty to watch. Almost a chop for Lunden, but luckily not, since she opened up already with an open frame in the first. Tuula Tamminen, a little fluky strike. The last pins were, it was a high hit, and 7 and 10 were the last ones to go down, but still a strike and a good start for her. Maria Toth, I think A category men have dried that lane a little bit more than what she was used to on that 11 and 12. But a Brooklyn strike for her, and no worries there, but it definitely is a drier one. So it'll be interesting to see how he responds to that. How she. Lunden, a perfect strike for there. Modesto has left the washout 110, and Vlahos once again has missed the headpin on the right, on the left, which is not too common. With a spare ball, chopped it, left that 6-pin. Since Modesto only got one with his spare shot, it's Vlahos, Ulic, Dominguez with 4. Erkki Arima, who's been solid so far after this lane switch, has been struggling a little. 2 open frames. Well, now a good strike already again on that 15, but he's struggling on 16, so we can keep an eye on that if he can make an adjustment on lane 16. Bjerregaard has started with the front 4, so it looks good for him at the moment. A great strike for Italian Pertegard also. Another light hit for Dominguez, this time leaving baby slit on the left side, 2 and 7. Vlahos, a little tight line and leaving half weak 10 over there, but still managing to hit the pocket. And on the right we see if Bjerregaard is able to strike for the 5th time already in the 5th frame. Yes. Dead flush for Bjerregaard, and it's looking good that he's the one who's playing in the finals for sure. Another open frame for Dominguez. In women's C, Seija Nurmi's handicap has been almost eaten up by Pirkko Halden. The difference is 16 and Halden is leading by 10 in this one, so that's going to be a tight one. A light hit for Nurmi. Oh, Maria thought, okay, that was a Brooklyn strike in the second frame, and I was suggesting it might be a little troublesome pair for her after the men's A category played here, and now consecutive splits for Toth. But also Kuhlbeck has opened up, and Lunden has that empty frame in the first. So all four players are inside 11 pins after 4 frames. Good shot for Reija. Eva Renvall has been playing very nicely after that first game where she struggled a little bit. Since then it's been pretty much cruise control for her. And although now he hits it high and leaves 6-10, it's still a good position to be in. Arima makes a spare, so he leads least by a couple of pins. Vertegard, who has the most handicap points, is also playing the best game. So there seems to be a case that it's at least against Arima. The interesting thing going on. On men's B, after that Poutiainen double, Georgsen is in big trouble because Bjerregaard with that front 6 is almost guaranteed to make it. Great strike for Least. Keeps it interesting. Men's A. All event winner Ondrej Suran. Good light hit and is able to carry down all the 10. And with that double, he leads Dominguez already by 34 pins after 4 frames. Now the oldest player in the tournament, Seija Nurmi, finds herself in trouble. They're collecting only 66 pins through 6. And both Halden and Weinik are doing a lot better. So it's an uphill climb for Nurmi at the moment, but nothing is guaranteed yet. Especially after Weinik left at 7-10. Toth has switched back to urethane, which seems to be a good choice. Strike in the 6th and keeps up pace, leading Guldbeck by 6 after 6 frames. Women's B, it's Klaven who is trailing by 16. Tamminen is leading by 16 over Klaven after 8 frames. Renvall is another 5 pins further ahead. Goldbeck leaves a baby split. Okay, over here Arima has missed a single pin in the 7th. At least doubled, so it's 20 pin advantage for least. Okay, now he left that 3 pin, but only a 3 pin. So it's looking good for him. And Pertegard is all but guaranteed to make the final. And men's B, it's 28 point advantage for Poutiainen in the 8th frame, and Georgsen misses, leaves only a 2 pin, but barring a miracle, it's Poutiainen against Bjerregaard in the final. And Bjerregaard, like you can see, has started front 8. And he was actually the player who battled the hardest in the first 2 rounds to make it here. It was twice a close call for him, and now he has a front 8. This has to be a strike for Arima. And now 5 count for him. Now it's looking bleak. A must spare, although he doesn't lose count since it was a single strike. But what basically needs to happen is a spare, then Arima a double, and least an open frame. So quite unlikely scenario for Arima to make it to the final. Just a single 2 pin for Vainikka. Bjerregaard left the 7 pin over there. So we missed that one. Men's A division is playing so slowly. We don't have to follow that closely at the moment. Halden is on a way to make it to the final. And also Vainikka. Seija Nurmi probably needs to strike here to have a chance in the 10th. Okay, she's working on a double. So maybe she found something in those 2 previous frames. Great shot, but still leaving that 10 pin. (5-7) for Halden. Over here it's guaranteed, even though at least left that 4-7. But since Arima didn't strike, it's 166, 171 with handicap. Arima can't get that, so it's Erkki Arima who finishes on the bronze medal in men's C category. And it's guaranteed that Ronald Georgsen does the same in men's B. Ronald Georgsen will finish 3rd and bronze medal in men's B. Over here it looks like it's Toth who's in trouble, trailing by 6, but then leaving that not so easy, 1, 2, 4, 8. And as you can see, Tuula Tamminen missed a single pin in the 10th, and she lost by 2 to Marian Kleven. So it's Kleven and Renvall in the finals in women's B category. Good pickup for Toth. So Goldbeck leads by 6 and 2 frames to go. Lunden is a little further ahead, but not yet guaranteed to make it. But it looks good. And over here everything has been settled. Like already said, Arima and Georgsen bronze medalists. For some reason, men's A category is playing very slowly this game. Maybe there was some kind of problem with the machine. Dominguez leaves a 2-10. He was trailing Vlahos by 2 pins. Just to make sure over here, 53. So Seija Nurmi needs 9 count. Because Pirkko Halden has 178. And Nurmi has 27 pin handicap. So 9 count to win, 8 to tie, 7 to lose. This is interesting. Tytti Vainikka has already secured her place in the final match. 9 or better, and it looks good. And it is 9. And it is Seija Nurmi against Tytti Vainikka in the finals. Seija beats Pirkko by 1 pin. Over on the women's A, Reija Lundén has made a critical mistake in the 9th after a spare 5 and 3. So it's still not guaranteed for her either. And Heidi Guldbeck actually doubled. But so far we know it was Arima, Georgsen, and Halden, and Tamminen, who has been eliminated before the final. Toth leaves that 4-7. So that means she still trails Lundén by 14. So pretty much any kind of mark is enough for Lundén. The same thing for Guldbeck. She can actually have a empty frame if the count is good. Toth keeping up the hope. And now Lundén, a spare and 7 is enough for her. That's the way to seal your place in the final game. Perfect strike for Reija Lundén. And so the women's final in A category will at least feature Reija Lundén. And Heidi Guldbeck is about to join her over there. 9 count. Spare and 4 is what's needed from Heidi Guldbeck. So practically a spare, because that 4-pin count is pretty much guaranteed. And that's an easy spare for Guldbeck. So it's Maria Toth who finishes 3rd in women's A category. So now we can switch our focus to the only remaining interesting match, men's A, where it's very interesting between Dominguez and Vlahos. 2 points still. Just for confirmation, to see if Guldbeck scores more than 4, and she does. So it's Guldbeck and Lundén in the final. No chop there for Vlahos. So he stays 2 pins ahead with 2 frames to go. But as a recap, in men's C, it will be List against Partegat. And then in the men's B, it's Outiainen against Bjerregaard. In women's C, it's Vainikka and Nurmi. Women's B, Renvall and I lost my words. I can't remember. But Renvald Tamminen anyways dropping out, finishing third. And women's A, Guldbeck and Lundén. But back to men's A. Very interesting, and that was actually lucky to get a 9 count from that. Only loses 1 pin. Very nice choice. Switching balls, taking a total different path to the pocket and buried it into the pocket. Firmly keeps his destiny in his own hands. Spiros Vlahos. Ooh. Well, he was still pretty much safe to say it was going to be spare all the way, even though it's a little lighter hit, but not really worried about missing the 3 pin. For Andre Suran, he's already booked his place in the final. And final games will start right after completion of this men's A semi-final match. And that women's B final is obviously Eva Renvall and Marien Kleiven. Brooklyn. A bad Brooklyn hit 5 and 9. So that means any kind of mark is enough for Spiros Vlahos. And it looks like that Dominguez is going to make his spare shot first. He needs to make it. And there's always that possibility of a chop. Didn't happen. So any kind of mark for Vlahos. A Brooklyn strike will do. It's Vlahos against Suran in men's A final. So the finals are men's A, Suran and Vlahos. Men's B, Poutiainen and Bjerregaard. Men's C, Italian Partegat against Jelle Least. And they are actually the 5th and 6th seeds in men's C category. I don't know if it happens too often that the 5 and 6 seeds are playing in the finals, but this year it is. And on the women's side, in the A class, it's Guldbeck against Lundén, Renvall against Kleiven, and in the C category, it's Nurmi against Vainikka. So commentary will continue as soon as those final games will start.
will be champion, and the lower score will be silver. Now let's give a big applause to our finalists.
So the final games are set to begin. Over here, Women A, Lundén against Guldbäck. And Women B, Renvall against Kleiven. Women C, Vainikka against Nurmi. Men's A, Suran against Vlahos. Men B, Bjerregaard Poutiainen, and men C, Pertegaard Liist. And as previous rounds, it's one game. Winner is the gold medalist and champion in this year's edition of ESBC. And the runner-up will be the silver medalist. Poutiainen starts with a strike. Bjerregaard continues his torrid form, starts with a perfect strike. He found some light after switching lanes. Since then it's been pretty much all but strikes for him. I don't know why Ondrej Suran is taking so much time. It's too slow. He should be playing faster, and I think Vlahos showed him that it's your turn to play. Just a 2-pin. Over here, Kleiven makes a strike in the second. But so does Renvall. Heidi Guldbäck, who already was in a situation in the first game that it wasn't in her own hands, but because of her opponent's failures in the 10th, avoided elimination, and here she is in the final against Reija Lundén. Kleiven, another great shot and a double in the third frame. Nurmi starts with 2 open frames, and the handicap difference is only 5 between Vainikka and Nurmi. And Vainikka makes a spare. So Tytti has taken command in this game after 2 frames. On men's C category, like already mentioned, Pertegaard was the 6th seed and Liist was the 5th seed. So the last 2 players making the Masters finals are playing in the final. Unfortunate chop for Pertegaard, so that game is pretty much even. Poutiainen misses badly to the left, missing the headpin from the left side and leaving 1-3-6-8. Which is not the easiest one to cover up. And like said, it's not the easiest. He leaves that 8-pin. Nurmi made a spare, but so did Vainikka, so nothing new on women's C. Renwall a good shot, but leaves a flat 10, and Marian Kleiven has already struck another time. She has a triple, and the lead is to 21 for Kleiven after 4 frames. Lundén leaves at 4-6, but Goldbeck has also left a split in the third. And with that strike and Lundén probably taking out 2, it's a 1-point game after 4 frames to Lundén. A good shot, even though it was a little lucky that the 7-pin went down. With the help of a 2-pin, it's still a strike. And since Vertegard has that 110 and no spare, so the handicap advantage has been taken by Leist, and he's actually leading by 4 pins, including the handicap after 4 frames. Bjerregaard has a chance to make some ground on Poutiainen. And he does. This pair 13 and 14 has really been a good one for Bjerregaard. He's leading already 25 after 4 frames. At least doubles. Vertegard also strikes, but there's the 14-pin difference. And men's A final, Suran has opened up in the third, so Vlahos leads by 14. Over here it stays the same, it's Lundén ahead by 1. Kleiven has opened up in the fifth, so it's only an 8-point game at the halfway mark of this final game. Very nice shot by Rea Lundén, but unfortunately leaving that solid 9. Kleiven hits the pocket, but very, very weak 10. Nurmi makes a spare, but since Vainikka is up by 32 and including handicap 27, it's firmly in Tytti's hands at the moment. Over here it's still the same between Leist and Vertegard. 23 in scratch, and including handicap it's 14. And it's a strike for Leist. The 8-pin was stubborn for a while, but the messenger came out and took it away. At the moment it looks good for Leist, but Vertegard has still his chance. And with shots like that, he's not gonna go away easily. Over here it's still 14. Let's see what Vlahos does. A very poor shot, but a really, really fortunate strike for Spiros Vlahos. But everything counts. Over here Nurmi has struck, but he needs some help from Vainikka. And that Brooklyn strike is not the help what Nurmi needs. That was actually a better shot than it looked like when it hit the pins. Leaving a little weak 10, but the shot itself was a really good one. Lundén was looking for a double, but also leaving a ringing 10. Okay, Guldbeck lost some pins by that 6 spare, so the difference is 5. A Brooklyn hit, but only a 5-pin standing, so it's still wide open. What's happening here? Least doubles. So he's definitely in a good position at the moment. It's 24 and only 2 frames to go. And Jukka Poutiainen has missed the single pin. And even though Henning Bjerregaard misses the pocket, he unfortunately leaves only a single pin, a 3-pin. So the difference is 34. Plus that 1 point handicap, 35. Tytti Vainikka doubled in the 7th. So that looks to be pretty much settled down. Okay, anything can happen, but it's going into a direction that Tytti Vainikka is going to win. Gil Least makes a perfect shot, and with that one, it's already 34. To have any kind of chance, Bjerregaard needs to strike. He did, but it's still 34. He needs help from Least and to strike out, so strike out and Least make an open frame and lose enough count. Highly unlikely that's going to happen, but we'll keep on tap on that. Vlahos has doubled on that fluke strike in the 5th, so he now leads by 25. Great strike by Vlahos, 35. And over here it's guaranteed. Gil Least is the winner in men's C category. Guldbeck has opened up in the 8th, so Reijo Lundén is leading by 20 and 2 frames to go. Cliven is 15 over, and Renvall is 16 under, missed the single pin. So that one is already been decided. It's Cliven who's going to win women's B category. Reijo Lundén is giving hope to Guldbeck by leaving 210. But that's a sure thing. Marianne Cliven is the champion in women's B category. Guldbeck misses the head pin from the left. A very poor shot in that situation after Lundén gave her some hope. Very close. But here, already known champions, Gil Least. And Bjerregaard opens up and Poutiainen doubles, so there is a match. This one is already settled down. Tytti Vainikka wins, so C category is all finished. Least and Vainikka have won. And Cliven is the champion. And since Guldbeck opened up, it's 19-point difference. Any kind of mark is enough for Reijo. We'll see that, and then we can switch focus to men's A and B division. And that's a strike. Reijo Lundén is the champion. And over here, Spiros Vlahos is really close, but with that 4-6, there is still some hope for Andrei Suran. And here, after Jukka Poutiainen strikes, including that one pin handicap, Henning Bjerregaard is leading by 2. Really close. A flat 10 for Bjerregaard. It's a 10th frame decider in men's B category. See here, Vlahos leads by 11 after 8 frames. And we don't have to switch cameras because we can see Bjerregaard's spare shot. And with that spare, Bjerregaard leads by 2 pins going into the 10th. Poutiainen has a strike in the 10th, Bjerregaard has a spare. High Brooklyn hit for Vlahos, but luckily leaving only 6 pin. But here, men's B. Trailing by 2, Jukka Poutiainen in the 10th. Hits the pocket, but leaves that 7 pin. So it's 3 pins, the difference at the moment. Easy spare on that 6 pin for Vlahos. Stays ahead, 11 pins. Bjerregaard with a strike here. He can seal the deal already. And that is what he does. Strikes, and Henning Bjerregaard, who was in trouble in the first 2 rounds, after switching pairs, was pretty solid. He's the winner in men's B category. Okay, he still needs 8 with 2 balls, but probably that's going to happen. And over here on the men's A side, Suran strikes in the 9th. So this is a tough one also. 11 pin advantage for Vlahos, who has a spare in the 9th. Suran has a strike in the 9th. Now we can see Bjerregaard's shot on 14, and it's enough. That guarantees that he's the winner in B. Suran, Brooklyn. But the good thing for him is, since he had a single strike, he doesn't lose any count. Spare there, and a strike. Vlahos needs any kind of mark. And also 9 count is enough, because in that case only a 9 miss would make it a tie. So at least 9 is important for Suran. It's a strike, so any kind of mark, it is what's needed by Vlahos to win this match. With an open frame, it's Andrei Suran. This week-long championship comes down to this frame. You already know 5 champions: Lundén, Kleiven, Vainikka, Bjerregaard, and Liist. Now we're looking who's going to be the last champion from the men's A category. Spiros Vlahos going up in the 10th, needing a mark to win gold medal. It totally missed the head pin. 1, 2, 4, 8. Not the easiest leaves at this moment. But the good thing was he missed it enough so that he didn't leave 110 or 210. And now he's actually switching back to that ball that he used in these games in middle frames. Trying to hook it to the Brooklyn side. Let's see what happens. A great, great shot by Spiros. So he only now needs 4. Still concentrate. Don't foul. 4 is what you need. But I don't think he's going to foul. So the only representative from Greece, Spiros Vlahos, is the last champion of these finals. Men's, he's using actually a spare ball. Like that. That was wise. 9 count. Vlahos 199, Suran 193. And he's the champion in men's A category. So that concludes the Masters finals here in Tali Bowling. These championships started last Sunday. Around 500 players took part in these 6 different categories. Singles, doubles, trios, and all event medals were already presented this morning before these Masters finals. Now we know the 6 Masters champions from each category, and these medals will be presented to players at the players' banquet. So we don't have it over here. And therefore, it's time for me to thank you all the watchers. It was an interesting and enjoyable day of bowling over here in Tali. Next year's championships will be played in Italy, in Rome. Be sure to be back over there. But for now, thank you from my part. Tali Bowling, silence is now.